I have a question, and that is, if you didn't have to work to make money, would you still do what you're doing? And if not, what would you do? For example, if everyone lived in a self-sustainable town, if everyone had some kind of a garden, so you no longer had to make money to buy your food, if all the food you wanted was free as long as it was clean food that was grown in your community, not food from a factory, but just food grown in your own local community, where everyone could go and put all their extra food in this farmer's marketplace where everyone would go to get whatever they need. Because there's not one person that can grow everything, of course. But if everyone grew just some things, there would be enough for everyone. And, of course, housing, your basic housing, sustainable, earth-friendly, off-the-grid housing would be free. So what would you do? Would you change your job over from a non-sustainable job to sustainable? And maybe you wouldn't have to work nearly as much because you wouldn't have to make as much money. I think about this a lot. And I realize that we're not really free. Because you can't be free of the system. We are forced, no matter what, to pay to live. I'm not saying that I believe in handouts. I'm just saying that we should have the opportunity to provide for ourselves in communities where we can grow our own food and have our own free housing. Otherwise, you're always a slave. You always have to have money. There's something wrong with this. This never enough attitude of continuously growing and producing and throwing stuff away and not recycling. Of course, I live in a town where everything is recycled, but it's just not enough. It's not enough because it's not completely sustainable. I mean, why can't we all just grow our own food and have free housing that we create for ourselves? There's always going to be this extortion of money. And it's not right. It can't be sustainable. So, anyway, I was just wondering, would you still do what you do if your basic necessities were provided for through your own community? If you didn't have to have money for food because it was grown in your own local community where everyone grew food and everyone shared their food, would you still do what you do if your basic housing needs were met because you participated in building your own house, and there was no government to extort your money for land. And if you wouldn't do what you're doing right now, what would you do? You can say you would do nothing but just enjoy the food and the beautiful land. Maybe you would help with solar or wind power or something to make some extra money if you wanted some extra things. I'm sure you'd probably have to do something to have your solar things that take lots of labor, that more than just one person would have to participate in. But anyway, it's just something to think about, because I really doubt that people would do what they're doing if they didn't have to make money. I think most people probably hate what they do for a living. Or maybe they don't even think about it. It's not even an option for them to even think about. But I mean, this is really, really serious, because we have people doing things that are very destructive to the earth. Chemicals and bombs and wars, and it's not right. And it can't last forever. And I don't see how people can have children and raise them with this mentality of going to war and killing. I don't think there's an excuse for it. It's just because of money. I mean, honestly, would a child want to go to war if they didn't have to pay for college? If it was free? I mean, that's basically why people go join the army, is because they need the money. It's just wrong. It's got to stop. It's very, very sick. I mean, we're not supposed to have wars because the world is supposed to be abundant. The earth wants to be abundant. It wants to give us our food, our shelter. There's everything we need can be grown sustainably and can be enough for pretty much everyone if everyone really put their minds and hearts to it. But I'm afraid that there's just too many greedy people and too many people in denial. They don't want to see their ways, how they live such an unsustainable lifestyle. For one thing, eating meat is very unsustainable, especially with a high population. And factory farms are very deadly because they breed all kinds of bacterias and flus, drug-resistant bacterias, and nobody wants to admit it. Very sick. Anyway, my question again is, would you do what you do if you didn't have to make money for food and shelter? And if not, what would you do? Take care.